And we're going to deal with them being taken out this time for the last time. Let's go to Luke 21, and we'll begin reading at verse 20. Luke 21, verse 20. Okay, when you get it, go ahead and read.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is not.
Now he's saying here, when you see Jerusalem surrounded with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is near. Skip down to verse 23 and continue reading.
But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
Go ahead.
For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people.
Now who is this people? This people, that is the Israelites that was in the land at that time. Great distress in the land and wrath upon this people. Go ahead and read on.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations.
What's going to happen to them? They will be led away captive. I told you it's in the New Testament. This is Jesus himself telling you what's going to happen to the Israelites. They're going to fall by the edge of the sword, and they will be led away captive into all nations. Go ahead and finish that up.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
You know, when the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled at the coming of the Lord. So that means the Israelites won't be in the land until the Lord returns. Another people will be in the land. Let's read about this captivity here from history. Show you what time it took place. Start reading right there. Underline and read. Last 2 million years, page 87. Go ahead and read.
Faith survives the dispersion. The crucifixion of Jesus about AD 30 did not end Jewish resistance to the Roman occupation.
Now around AD 30, that's when he made that prediction, that Israel would be led away captive into all nations, and that Jerusalem would be inhabited of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So 30 AD is when he made that prediction. Continue reading.
In 70, when the country was again in a state of revolt.
Because Jesus spoke of a time in the future, didn't he? In 70 AD, some 40 years later, this is what happened. Go ahead and read.
Jerusalem, the holy city, became the core of the resistance to the Romans.
Go ahead.
Titus, the son of Emperor Vespasian, proceeded to lay siege to Jerusalem. The city fell, and the inhabitants were enslaved in their thousands.
See what happened to them? The city fell, and the inhabitants were enslaved by the thousands. Read a little bit more of that.
And dispersed throughout the Mediterranean world. This was the first dispersion.
Go ahead.
And worse was to follow.
And worse was to follow. First, they was just dispersed throughout the Mediterranean world, but then later, they was dispersed throughout the entire world. But Jesus said they would be led away captive into all nations, right? So now you're looking for the real Israelites, find the people that have been led away captive into all nations. Let's go now and read something, and I'm going to show you what happened after that in 70 AD. Because you said, well, you know, you saying that you Israel. Well, who are the people that's claiming that they Israel? Let's read a little bit of history, because Israel had a brother. His name was Edom. Pick it up right there. Yeah. And then we're going to read something from this other book here. Go ahead and read. This came from Uncle's Bible Dictionary, by the way. Go ahead and read.
The Edomites were now incorporated with the Jewish nation, and the whole province was often termed by Greek and Roman writers Idumea.
Idumea. In other words, when you read about Idumea in the Bible or in history, you're reading about the Edomites. Go ahead and read on.
Immediately before the siege of Jerusalem by Titus, 20,000 Idumeans were admitted to the holy city.
Go ahead.
Which they filled with robbery and bloodshed. From this time, the Edomites, as a separate people, disappear from the page of history.
Now, when did this happen? In 70 A.D. What happened in 70 A.D.? Israel went into captivity. And what happened with Edomites, Israel's brother? They disappeared from the page of history. Let's read another account. This time we'll read from the sarcophagus of ancient civilization. Began reading right here where it say the Idumeans. Go ahead and start reading right there, and then read that little bit too. Read what's underlined in red, and read that little bit too.
All right.
Go ahead and read.
The Idumeans, along with the Zealot party, early joined in the rebellion against the foe.
Go ahead.
Through the influence of John of Gischala and Josephus, informs us 20,000 Idumeans were allowed access to the holy city.
Go ahead.
Only to fill the city with robbery and bloodshed. They spared nobody. The outer temple was completely covered with blood.
Now this is the temple that was standing there that Jesus said would be destroyed. It was covered with blood. Go ahead and read some more.
8,500 perished there in one day. But the rage of the Idumeans was not confined to the temple precincts. They betook themselves to the city and plundered every house and slew everyone they met.
Now, go ahead and read that now.
With the tragic fall of Jerusalem, the Idumeans as a nation pass off the stage of history and disappear entirely from the human sight.
So now you got a whole nation of people just done disappeared. You know, Israel went into bondage in 70 A.D. 70 A.D., Edom, he disappeared. What happened to him? Let the Bible tell us. Let's go to the book of Obadiah here. Obadiah, we're going to pick it up at verse 9. Obadiah, verse 9. It's only one chapter, so we're going to just pick it up at verse 9. Obadiah, verse 9. Obadiah is between Jonah and Amos. Verse 9. Go ahead and read.
And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter.
Now you say every one of the mount of Esau. So that's who we're dealing with. We're dealing with Esau or Edom here, or the Edomites. Go ahead and read.
For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt be cut off forever. And the day that thou stoodest on the other side, and the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners into his gates.
Now in 70 A.D., Israel got carted off, didn't it? And he said foreigners entered into his gate. Who were the foreigners that entered into his gate? It's going to tell you here. Go ahead and read on.
And cast lots upon Jerusalem.
And they cast lots upon Jerusalem. Go ahead and read.
Even thou was as one of them.
He said, Edom, you were even as one. So now, you want to know who the people are that's in the land? Because Israel got to be scattered until the Lord returns. But then another people got to be there. Who is that people that is there that's calling themselves Israel? The book just told you it is evil. He said, and foreigners entered into his gates, even you was as one of them. Go ahead and read some more.
But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger.
Go ahead.
Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction.
Go ahead.
Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity.
You better say, you should not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Go ahead and read on.
Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity.
Go ahead and read.
Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of that did remain in the day of distress.
Now you got Edom. They sitting in the land today, and you got Israel. They are scattered into bondage until the Lord return. Let's go now to Deuteronomy chapter 32. So now you don't have Israel in the land, because they can't be in the land. Not until the Lord returns. Who got to be in the land until the Lord returns? Edom. He is where he's supposed to be, and Israel, they are where they are supposed to be. So everybody is where they are supposed to be. So now you got Edom, he in the land. Then you got Israel, they in bondage in all nations. That's how the Bible says it's supposed to be. So now if there's whoever the people are that's in the land that call themselves Israel, they cannot be Israel, not according to the Bible. Because Jesus said they would be led away captive into all nations until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So I don't care what they say, they are not the real Israelites. The real Israelites must be led away captive into all nations. Let's go now to Deuteronomy chapter 32, and we'll begin reading at verse 15.